Joe Burrow is back, and the Bengals beat the Vikings 27-24. How you doing, everyone? I'm James Rapien with allbengals.com and Cincinnati Bengals Talk here at Paul Brown Stadium, where just a few hours ago, Joe got after it on this field. Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, and the rest of the Bengals offense did what they needed to do throughout the game. Let's start with Burrow. All eyes on him. First regular season action we've seen from him since last November, and he delivered. I thought he looked really good, really sharp. Early on, Zach Taylor conservative with his play calls. You could see he was trying to ease Joe Burrow back into things, but there were some throws late in the second quarter, early third quarter that Burrow was making. They were insane. A really tight window throw to Tyler Boyd where he somehow snuck it past the defender. Jamar chased the deep ball, which I'm sure you've seen, the 50-yard touchdown. Burrow looked the part today in his first game since coming back from a torn ACL. And look, it wasn't all sunshine and roses for this offense, but for a stretch at the end of the first half and at the start of the third quarter, they scored on 3 straight possessions, touchdowns. 1, 2, 3. They were down 7-0, suddenly up 21-7. And that's the potential that this offense has when T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and obviously Jamar Chase are clicking with a guy like Burrow. Let's get to the second Joe, though, because Joe Mixon, 29 carries, over 100-plus yards, 20-plus yards receiving, a touchdown. Look, number 28 said earlier in the week during his news conferences that, and we aired it right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk, that he wanted to put the city of Cincinnati on his back. That is exactly what he did in front of 56,000-plus people here at Paul Brown Stadium. He played great. He looked fast, looked exactly like you'd expect Joe Mixon to look when you look at all their skill players. I think Mixon right now, most established, considered the most talented, and he showed it today. But it wasn't all sunshine. Like I said, 5 sacks. Joe Burrow was down 5 times. And some of that, I think, isn't just the offensive line. I think it was the disguises, some of the mental things that the Vikings do. They show different fronts and make it hard on opposing quarterbacks to know what's coming, where it's coming from. And Joe probably wasn't perfect, Burrow, in that area. That being said, 5 sacks is probably about 3 or 4 too many, right? And unfortunately for Joe Burrow, that last sack, he tweaked his ankle. I confirmed with him after the game it was his ankle. He stayed in the game, rode the bike, wasn't really limping after the game, but we'll see. Something to monitor because you never know how that ankle's going to respond after, a night of after injury, right? And Burrow said that his adrenaline took over. So that's something to monitor as we get to this week and into next week with, the Bengals playing the Bears on the road in week 2. Let's get to this defense, though, because to me, that was maybe not the biggest question mark of the season, but certainly a huge one. Will this defense be able to do what they say they're going to do, which is get after the quarterback, which is set a tone, be physical, force turnovers? Well, they did all of those things today when they needed to most. They sacked Kirk Cousins 3 times. New defensive tackle B.J. Hill, who came to town in the Billy Price trade, looked great in his Bengals debut. Larry Ogunjobi looked great in his Bengals debut. Trey Hendrickson contributed. Chidobe Awuzie contributed at cornerback and made some nice plays on Justin Jefferson. And that, to me, was the most impressive part of today. Look, Joe Burrow, he was great for the most part when you consider the circumstances. Offense was exciting, but this defense, how physical they were, was huge. I don't think Kirk Cousins was really ever comfortable. They hit him a lot. They hit him early. They hit him often. I believe it was 8 quarterback hits. So this defense, if they can play like that, like they did today, I think this team can win a lot of games because on offense, they're going to fill it up. And drops? What drops? We've talked about it a lot on Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Jamar Chase drops. I hope you took my advice a few weeks ago when I said he was a steal in fantasy leagues with all this drop conversation. He's going to get used. He's going to get targeted. He's going to move all over the offense. We saw it today. The go route, the 50-yarder, right? But he also caught a screen pass. He also caught an out route. He also caught a slant. That's what the Bengals are going to do. They are going to incorporate Ja'Marr Chase all over the field. They're going to move him around and use him. And he didn't have any drops. 5 catches, 101 yards, a Bengals rookie record. Most receiving yards by a Bengals rookie in their debut, 101. A.J. Green didn't do it. Chad Johnson didn't do it. None of those guys did it. In fact, Jordan Shipley had the record at 82 yards before today when Ja'Marr Chase broke it. So, look, is there stuff that needs to be cleaned up? Absolutely. I think Burrow can get better. We'll certainly talk about Zach Taylor and his ability or lack of ability to close out games. This was a game, even though they won 27-24, they had to go into overtime to do it. When they were up 21-7, 24-14, they could have closed it out, and they didn't. And going forward on 4th down, up 14 in the 3rd quarter on your own 30, yeah, probably not the smartest decision, especially if you're going to do a basic play. Just to hand off to Joe Mixon when the Vikings were expecting it. And that's the thing. If you want to get creative and aggressive, they got to go hand in hand. You better be creative with that play call and make sure it gets done. But ultimately, late in the game and in overtime, the 4th down when they needed it, Joe Burrow checks at the line, 32 yards to Uzama. And who else but Evan Money McPherson with, this kid is just great. He is. 53-yarder early in the 4th quarter to give the Bengals a 10-point lead, and then a 33-yarder to end the game in overtime to give the Bengals their first season opening win in Paul Brown Stadium since 2007. Evan McPherson wasn't old then. He might have still been in diapers in 07. Maybe not quite, but still, you get my point. Make sure you check out allbengals.com. We have plenty there. We got a bunch of news conferences from Joe Burrow to Zach Taylor and more at Cincinnati Bengals Talk on YouTube. As always, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm James Rapien.